What's going on, YouTube? Are you a shelf collector? Are you a game collector? Or are you somewhere in between? Recently, a commenter left a comment, I guess that's normally what commenters do, on one of my videos, and it really stood out to me and gave me kind of an inspiration for this video. So we're going to pull that up right now. Megaside84 said, I sold off my vast collection just a few years before the pandemic and don't regret it. After it finally dawned on me that I was a shelf collector and rarely if ever used original hardware, as I always preferred my PC or soft-modded OG Xbox for emulation and retro gaming. So the term that really stood out to me was shelf collector, and like I said, that was kind of an inspiration for this video. So I did a little research. I just kind of did a fun little Google search, and I just put in shelf collector to see kind of what would come up. And this was this was a big surprise to me. There was actually a forum post from GameFAQs on the classic gaming one when it was asked, when is someone considered a shelf collector? And there were some funny ones in here. Obviously, this one right here was when they build an actual shelf to show their collection off. But this one really stood out to me here. A lot of literal it takes up in here. I believe the term shelf collector is usually meant to refer to someone who has a large collection of games, usually on a shelf, but doesn't exactly play them anymore, or never really had intention to play them, never really had much intention to do so in the first place. If you simply don't have time, then you're not meaning to become a shelf collector. You're just a gamer short on time. Otherwise, I'd like to saying a guy with a couple sets of snow skis and snowboard who hasn't had time to make it up to the mountain in a couple years is a poser when he's not. He loves skiing and snowboarding and is not good at it, but honestly didn't have time for it over the past few years. And that, like I said, that really stood out to me. So we're going to check out one more. I Googled what is the difference between a shelf collector and a collector, and then it kind of gave me an AI overview of it. You know, a shelf collector refers to someone who primarily collects items with the intention of simply displaying them on a shelf, often without actively using or engaging with them, while a collector generally implies someone who actively seeks out and acquires items within a specific category due to genuine interest of enjoyment of the collection itself, not for display. So then it kind of goes down to the key points of it. A shelf collector is more concerned with how their items look when neatly arranged on a shelf, potentially prioritizing value or rarity over personal use. And the collector, as a collector, actively engages with their collection, studying, researching, and potentially using these items they collect. So I ask yourself again, are you a shelf collector or are you a collector? Now, we talked about in the past with collecting in general, me especially, before this whole kind of sell a lot of my collection and start talking about collecting addiction and everything. I was a very active shelf collector. I like to think that I had the general idea of someday I'm going to play I'm going to play these games I'm purchasing. I'm going to do that. But, I mean, was I just kidding myself? Now, I could say that according to this, these people were saying that they were just short on time. You know, I was just short on time. I have 2 jobs. I have 3 kids. I have a family life. I have a social life. I don't have time to game. I'll play these games some days. But was I just in general a shelf collector that was buying massive amounts of stuff to put onto, to put up on there? As a side note, just now as I'm looking at this, I'm going to pull this back up quick. It looks like back in 2022, Retro Bird, if you guys have not checked out Retro Bird, make sure you guys go and do so. He did a video similar to this. It says, are you a video game shelf collector? So that's kind of cool to see that pop up on there. I was going to say, I think I've seen this term before, but it was just kind of nice to see it now. But back on the subject. I think once I started selling off most of my collection, because I had always been actively engaged with my collection. I was always studying. I was researching potential games to purchase down the road. But I also flew on the end of my seat, you know, occasionally. I would just purchase games. If I seen them, I'd go to Goodwill or anything like that, and if I just saw a game sitting there, if it was one that I probably hadn't had and it was a couple bucks, I'd buy it, and then I'd just put it on my shelf. There's times when I would take lots of games, sometimes given to me, because people just were going to throw them out, and they're like, here, just take them. And I would get them, and the games probably wouldn't even work, but they'd look cool, so I'd put them up on the shelf. A lot of you know what I mean, because I think if we actually sit down and think about it and lay this out, most of us are probably shelf collectors disguised as regular collectors or gamers in general. Now, I've found that, you know, once I've sold most of the collection, started working on my backlog, I feel more today like an actual collector and gamer than before, where it was just, you know, paralysis by analysis, where I couldn't actually play the games because I had too huge a backlog. I had too many games that I wanted to play or purchased to play at some point, but I just really had them here. And I had some other stuff going on where it was just kind of like, just too much was going on. Like I said, it was just, but nowadays, now that the collection is winding down, most of what I have now either means something to me from my childhood, or it is literal games that I'm excited to play. As of right now, I recently picked up, I think on PS5, was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection. I got it for like 15 bucks at Walmart. I've been wanting it forever, and I finally found one heck of a deal on it. And these were all games from my childhood that I really enjoyed, now with a PS5 upgrade. And just the fact that I'm able to see that and have that now, instead of like worrying about the other games. Like, I mean, I joked about this before, like having several copies of sports crappy game just because they look cool on a shelf. I never plan on playing it. Why would I want to play Madden, you know, 2007 or something like that? Now, shout out to anybody if that's your favorite Madden. I'm sorry, I'm not singling you out. I know there are specific years of Madden that people really enjoyed. I think one of my favorite one was 2006. It was around that area, I think, but I have no intentions of jumping into that, like those games. So I was theoretically at some point a basic shelf collector. It makes it sound really bad, like, you know, a basic white B word, but it just makes me laugh because of the way it uses that term. It was used right there. But yeah, it's just kind of like, I want to know what your guys' opinions on this, obviously, in the comments below. And I'm just kind of looking more at these. So an example of a shelf collector, it says on here, according to AI, someone who buys a large collection of rare comic books to showcase on a bookshelf, but rarely reads them. So for video game terms, somebody that buys a large collection of video games and they just sit on a shelf but never plays them. And then the collector is just someone who avidly collects baseball cards, actively researching their history and condition, and potentially trading them with other collectors. So yes, at one point, I was a collector, and then I became, I believe, a shelf collector, and then now I think I'm working my way back to that collector. So it's kind of going in waves, guys. So yeah, I really want to know in the comments below what you guys think about this. I think this is a fun little video, and I'd really like to maybe even dive more into it by checking out GameFAQs more, because I forgot all about that website, and me and somebody else were just talking about that the other day in the comment section on another video, and it was just kind of cool to see that was like the initial jump up when I went to look into it. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you dub yourself a shelf collector, a regular collector, or, you know, are you just a gamer? So with that being said, guys, as always, stay retro, my friends, and I hope you enjoyed this video. God bless, guys.